If we could get everybody start gathering up in here, we're on a very, very tight schedule today, and we want to stay on that schedule. And if we could get everybody sitting down in here, we're going to get started right on time, guys, if not a minute or two early.
As everybody's coming in, right outside, you had the opportunity to sample 2 different mangoes. It's a blind taste test. We're not going to tell you what's different about them, but we're looking for your feedback. So this is something that we do with our researchers when they do consumer preference studies. They do it in a much more scientific way, but we wanted to be able to try to do something really quick and get some feedback here. So the feedback that you're giving us this morning, we're actually going to show you these results at the end of this presentation. And fingers crossed, it all comes together, man. We're gonna hold this thing together with baling wire and duct tape, right, if we have to. So if anybody's got a ballot in their hand, raise your hand. We'll get somebody to come and pick up that ballot. Everybody turn in their ballots already that's in here?
Who needs a ballot? Anybody need a ballot?
Sure.
Okay, guys, we're going to kind of start to get this thing going a little bit. I want to introduce yourself. My name is Tommy Wilkins. I serve on the Viva Fresh Education Committee. And before we begin here, I want to take a moment and ask you, if you could, please silence your cell phones as a courtesy to the speakers and to your fellow guests.
Turn your mic on.
We got to tell you that the Texas International Produce Association represents the interest of all attending, and there will be no sharing of discussion of market collaboration, pricing for products or commodities. So that's got the rules that we all like to follow out of the way a little bit. Guys, we get directions from the Retail Food Service Committee, and we really want to appreciate those who are doing it, but this meeting came about as we've watched the avocado ripening program grow. We've seen the stone fruit increase in the ripe and ready. And I think part of the thing is that they were afraid to shrink and the ripe fruit. But what we're going to try to give you is some facts about how sometimes if it's a ripe piece of fruit, it may not be handled as much. And the whole idea of this conference was to develop more consumption of fruit and vegetables and a healthier thing. And I think education is our best way to take some of the things that we're worried about. So we want to teach you about how ripe may help us create the lag that the United States seems to be behind in other countries of the world in consumption of mangoes. So we've got some guys that really know what they're doing up here today. So I'm going to step aside and introduce Wendy McManus as the Retail Program Manager for the National Mango Board. Wendy oversees all aspects of the board's retail marketing and promotional efforts. This includes working with the National Mango Board's team of retail account managers to manage promotional efforts and quality control at retail level nationwide. As the Southeast Retail Manager, Wendy is responsible for the board's relationships with regional retailers such as Publix, Southeastern Grocers, Harris Teeter, Food Line, as well as national players as Walmart and Kroger Corporate. In 2006, Wendy joined the National Mango staff as the first marketing director of the fledgling organization where she was responsible for establishing the organizational market and brand strategy. Wendy has really brought this to the forefront, and she was the driving force in getting her here today to try to explain how we can increase consumption of mangoes, and that's what we're all here for today. So I want to welcome Wendy up to the stage.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? So we're off to a good start, right? Because you've already been fed. So that's a good first step. So if everybody did the consumer acceptance study when you were coming in the door, the idea here is that this is the type of study that we do with our researchers. They do it a little bit more scientifically than this, but we wanted to be able to do a quick opportunity for y'all to taste 2 different mangoes. It's a blind test. We're not going to tell you what's different about them. And then you tell us, do I like it? Don't I like it? And let's do some comparison. We're actually going to be tabulating the results during this session, and we're going to show you the results from this room at the end of the session. So if you have a ballot in your hand, I want you to raise your hand, and Valda or Tim are going to go around and pick up any ballot. So if you've got a ballot in your hand, raise that up high, and we're going to get somebody to come by and pick up your ballot so that we can get you counted in our consumer acceptance study. I want to make sure I introduce also my partner in crime. This is Dennis Kilstadius. And Dennis works with a number of different commodities. He was instrumental in developing the avocado ripening programs. He now works with USA Pears. He works a lot with the National Mango Board. He really has become such an important part of our team, and he goes out, works with retailers, works with suppliers to help them understand how to implement these ripening programs. So Dennis is going to be helping me out here on stage in a little bit. So we know that the numbers are good, right? So we know that consumption of mangoes is up 47% since 2009. We know that the import volume is up 76% since 2005. And those numbers are great. The numbers are important. We get that. But there's something else going on here. People are passionate about mangoes. They feel a connection to mangoes. And that passion sells produce. So an interesting thing happened when we started working with the National Mango Board. We went out and we're talking to consumers, and without us asking them for this information, they started telling us their mango stories. They started telling us if they grew up in an area where mangoes were grown, they would tell us about being with their cousins on grandma's back porch and eating mangoes with the juice dripping down their arms. They would tell us about going on vacation, going on a cruise, and that's the first time that they had a nice, beautiful, fresh, delicious mango because they'd never been exposed to that when they were kids. We hear people telling us about their favorite restaurant that has a mango salsa that they serve with the fish, and my goodness, I order that dish every single time because I love that mango salsa. I hear people tell me about how they feed mangoes as some of the first food to their babies, and their babies just love it, and their babies that are teething love to chew on the seeds. So all of these amazing mango stories are coming out of the woodwork. So we know we've got passion, we know we've got a great story, but what do we have to do first? We've got to make sure that we get good quality mangoes out there in the store, out there in the restaurants, available for consumers to take home. So what we're going to try to do today in a very short session is touch on some points all the way going back to the farm, talking about maturity at harvest, coming all the way through the retailer's DC, coming through the store level, talking a little bit about consumers, some of the barriers to purchase, and at the end, we're hoping that we have enough time to take some questions because we know that you guys will have some good ones for us. So I want to call on Dennis a little bit here. I've pushed my button twice. There we go. Dennis, tell us a little bit about this spectrum of mango maturity and ripeness. Help us understand what that's all about.
Okay, when a mango is harvested, it's called physiologically mature, but it's not really ripe. For distribution purposes, we don't have a tree-ripened mango program, at least here in the United States. Some people say they do, but when you pick it, it's still not fully ripe and ready to eat. There's a little bit of astringent in there, there's some starch in there, the flavors aren't there. Carotenoid development for the color isn't there. So what we do is harvest the mango, and through that distribution channel is how the mango will start to ripen. And if anywhere along the way you chill that mango, it's just like a banana. You basically shock it and stop it from going to its full potential.
So what I'm hearing, Dennis, is that mango, if it's harvested mature, it's got the potential. It's not ready to eat yet, but it's got the potential to ripen up, either on its own or through a ripening program, correct?
Exactly.
All right, so we've got this little golden nugget of potential here, and what happens next?
Well,
this mango comes into the distribution center, right? So we're going to skip over a few steps. We're going to come into the retail distribution center, and we're going to be evaluating that mango maturity and ripeness. So what are some of the best ways to do that?
Well, as you can see on the picture, we have this really nice tool called the penetrometer. This is called the human hand. I've been working with a lot of fruit through the years. Avocados started their ripening program back in 1988. I can't pick this mango up and squeeze it and tell you where it's at in its poundage. And if there's anybody that really thinks they can, I want to hire them, because you really can't do it. It's been proven time and time again. You have to use science. So you do a visual inspection. You do some penetrometer. It's a destructive test, yes, but it gives you the best idea of where the average of the physiological life of this load is. And then you can do a refractometer. Refractometer test will tell you where the brix is and what stage. So depending on where the fruit is on an average, you would take 2 readings with the penetrometer, write it down, 2 readings, take an average of all that. It kind of tells you where that load is physiologically. So then you would decide whether you want to put it in a ripening room or you just want to put it back in storage and bring it out. And when I say cold storage, I mean never colder than 50 degrees. 54 really. So, and then you make that decision at that time what to do with it.
So we've got up there internal flesh color. Why don't you tell them a little bit about a mango maturity and ripeness guide and how that internal flesh color progresses during that ripening process?
Well, during the time the fruit is picked, it's usually green. Sometimes you'll get some yellow color in it. And when you're doing your visual inspections, you see this nice red blush? It means absolutely nothing. It just means it's red blush. It has nothing to do with the physiological maturity. It's just the type of mango, maybe it has red. Some mangoes don't even change from green to yellow. Some of them you get a little yellowish hue to them. But we have put together, the mango board is really interesting. Before they hired me, they spent $1 million in research. Now, it wasn't tax dollars, it was assessments that the mango growers were paying and the importers were paying when they come to the United States. And they developed this really unique guide. It has brix, which is a soluble solid content reading from your refractometer. It has pressures, and it has color. So doing an internal inspection on your mangoes is really important, because visually, I can't do it visually, and I can't do it just squeezing it. So this is an important tool that we use, and it really will tell you where you're at in the stage of the mangoes.
So I want to highlight one thing. We've got up there on the slide the 4th item down, red blush. And Dennis mentioned it. It's got a big X over it. I'm speaking to my retailers in the room. We know that your customers buy with their eyes. We know that your customers ask for red blush. We get it. If you insist on making red blush part of your receiving spec, you are cheating yourself out of some of the best quality mangoes. It would be so much better if we could put our energy into retraining those customers not to look for that red blush, rather than putting our energy into trying to force the industry to produce something that in many cases just is not possible to produce. The red blush is a varietal characteristic, and it has an awful lot to do with where that mango is on the tree, how much exposure it gets to the sun, and only in certain varieties. So please, if right now today you have red blush as part of your receiving spec, I'm asking you to at least consider if that's something that you could let go of so that we can all try to grow together and move past that. All right, that's my little sermon for the day about red blush. Let's move on. So Dennis, you've mentioned temperatures a couple of times. Temperature matters. Why does temperature matter? What goes wrong?
And you thought you were only getting one sermon today about red blush. Let me tell you, there's a rule in real estate called location, location, location. And having just attended literally Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, UC Davis Fruit Ripening Workshop, which I've been teaching at, was my 18th year this year. People from all around the world come. The biggest thing you can do to help a mango is keep it out of a cold cooler. And I know, because I go do store checks, I'd say 90% of the retailers in the United States have mangoes in the cooler in the back room at store level. So even if you have a ripening program and you were to do everything proper and the guy in the store puts them in the cooler and it's there for 2 days in that 36, 38 degree cooler, because it's a lettuce cooler, you're going to have chilling injury. So I'm a first-time mango buyer. I take it home, I cut it open, and I see this brown and gray inside. And I have this off flavor to it, and it has an off odor to it. Am I going to run to the store and buy another one? I don't think so. So we don't refrigerate bananas. Papaya and mangoes are more chilling sensitive than bananas are. So it's really important to keep them out of the cooler. If nothing else you learned other than the red blush today, the other part of the sermon is keep them out of the cooler. And it will happen, especially on the Alto Ufo. This should really never go below 54 degrees. And this is probably the sweetest mango you'll ever have. And it should be wrinkly when you eat it. So we have a big job trying to teach consumers this stuff, but we have a bigger job trying to maintain a cold chain that is really a tropical chain. Cold chains don't always mean cold temperature.
Dennis, what do we mean when we say that the damage is cumulative and it's a delayed reaction? What does that mean?
It's very good. Have all of you heard of the stone fruit industry? Did this study back in the 90s about the kill zone for stone fruit? Do people remember that? Dr. Carlos Cristoso worked on that. Well, gee, we happen to have him working for us, too. So him and Dr. Jeff Brecht at Florida discovered something very unique about a year ago, that every time you expose a mango to cold temperature, it remembers. And all of a sudden one day it's going to show you what chilling damage is. So you really don't know where it came from because it could have been a little here and a little there. So there's a really interesting relationship on chilling injury, and this is with all tropical fruit. If you chill it, because I talk to guys that, well, we don't see it here. That's Tuesday. I did the visit on Tuesday. No, the consumer or the chef will see it on Monday, Tuesday next week. There's a time and temperature delay in chilling injury. It doesn't happen right away. So if you're part of this logistical chain and you do a little bit and the guy down the road does a little bit, all of a sudden there's a lot of it when the consumer gets it. So it's really important to understand that. Here's another thing that kind of put your hands around. You do more damage put in a mango at 48 degrees in a warehouse for 2 days than you do putting it on a delivery truck at 38 degrees for 6 to 8 hours. It's a time and temperature relationship. As soon as you go below, as soon as that pit goes below that cold temperature, it starts reacting. It's not so much the outside. Yes, you'll see chill damage on the outside, but sometimes that can happen in transportation from the country of origin. So temperature is really important.
So we're asking everybody in the room here to make a commitment to be part of the solution. Don't add your little bit of chill damage to those mangoes. Let's handle these mangoes properly at every stage along the way so that we're not doing, what do they say, death by 1,000 cuts. That's what I'd like to think of this as. Don't make your cut in the mango. Let's keep those at the right temperature. And we'll be able to bring mangoes in that are in good shape to go into a ripening center. So this is really where Dennis shines. This guy knows more about ripening fruit than probably everybody in this room put together.
Oh, there's one gentleman over there, bro.
All right, well, we've got Mr. Campisi over there. He knows an awful lot about ripening as well. So Dennis, talk to us about, if you were to go in and, train somebody on how to ripen mangoes, what are some of the basics that you'd be going over with them?
Well, first off, you have to do that visual inspection, like I said. So if the ripener can get the sheet, sometimes the QC and the ripeners are the same people, same department. Sometimes they're not. But they have to understand where that fruit is in the physiological age of the fruit. So if they decide to put it in a ripening room, what we do is have them warm it up. And the best temperatures for ripening to get the starch to sugar conversion in the fruit, and I'm telling you, without ethylene, you cannot have starch to sugar conversion in fruit. It is physiologically impossible. So all those old days of wrapping, how many people in here have seen tropical items, I won't just say mangoes, wrapped in plastic because somebody's ripening it or warming it up? Oh, come on, everybody has seen it. If you're in the produce industry, you've seen it. It happens. Well, that is the absolute wrong way to ripen fruit because your carbon dioxide level goes up, your humidity goes up. So that's why they build ripening rooms. Before there was a picture of the ripening room up there. But you put it in the ripening room, 68 to 72 is the best for mangoes. But we know you got to play with your alarms, you got to do some different things because bananas don't go much above 67. So you can treat it just like a banana. 24 hours of warming up, 24 hours of ethylene, and 24 hours of just thinking. Let the fruit think. And then you can cool it down to that 55 degrees. But the important part is what you do when you do that, and I'll try just illustrate here. Let's say you have a whole bunch of fruit in this 1.5 and 2 stage. And you've got a couple out here in the 4 and 5 stage. And a whole bunch right here in the middle, maybe. But more so on the 1.5. You're going to move that 1.5 and 2 stage to that 3-4 stage. And you might move that 3-4 stage to a 4-5 stage. But this stuff that's already ripe, already color, it doesn't jump away from you. It doesn't sugar spot like a banana. And you still have shelf life. What it does, a fruit that's already accepted the amount of ethylene that it's going to take won't accept any more ethylene. More ethylene does not make fruit ripen faster. They have their own clock. What makes fruit ripen faster is temperature. But you can go too high of a temperature also. So it's really important to stay in that range and let the ethylene do its job. And then you'll have a piece of fruit that's going to be more acceptable by the customer, but you'll take that tartness away, that little bit of the starch and that sugar will increase to it.
So what we're learning is that the mango industry is really in its infancy in terms of building out this infrastructure. The avocado industry has gone ahead and built these regional ripening centers. We're not there yet in mangoes, but this can be done at the retailer's DC. It can be done by the supplier if your supplier has those facilities. It can be done by a third party if you can build that kind of partnership. One of the things that we think is really, really critically important is that there is that partnership all the way back to the farm. In order to have a successful mango ripening program, you need mangoes that were harvested mature, and you need mangoes that are not chill damaged, that are properly temperature managed and properly handled throughout the supply chain. So just coming in and saying, I'm going to start a ripening program today and throw in some mangoes into a ripening room is not the right way to start. You're going to want to make sure that you have those relationships set and that communication in place all the way back to the farm. So Dennis went ahead and gave away the punchline of this particular slide. Dennis, we hear it all the time. Won't the mangoes get away from me during the ripening?
No.
No. His answer is no. So, what we're really learning here is that, what we end up with is tightening up the ripeness level, that we don't end up having that ripe fruit turning into a mango smoothie in the box. And that is really the biggest fear, the number one sort of objection and concern that we hear when we talk to retailers and suppliers about doing mango ripening programs. So the answer, no.
Is no.
So why ripen? Well, there's some research behind this. We know that in our consumer acceptance studies, consumer acceptance doubles for ripe mangoes versus unripe mangoes. We also know that 27% of non-mango purchasers have told us that the reason they don't buy mangoes is they don't know how to pick out a ripe mango. They don't know how to pick out a good one. They don't know what to do with it. So they're confused. That creates a barrier to purchase. 45% of the consumers who told us that they were disappointed in a mango purchase sometime in the last year told us that the reason was not ripe enough. Now, we don't know if those specific individuals had the knowledge to be able to take that mango home and ripen it in their own kitchen. Could be that a lot of those folks were coming into the store, they were looking for a mango that they could eat today or in the next couple of days, and they cut into a mango that was hard as a rock because they didn't know any better. But nevertheless, 45% of those folks are telling us they didn't find that mango that was the ripeness level they were looking for. And 41% tell us that their mangoes are an impulse purchase. The mangoes aren't on the list. So if you're presenting fruit that's all hard as a rock, and they're thinking about what they're going to make and what they're going to eat in the next 2 or 3 or 4 days, you have lost that impulse sale. But if you present a mango that's beautiful and ripe and ready to eat today, tomorrow, the next day, we're going to be able to really tap into that impulse purchase. And why else do we want to think about ripening? Well, there's a massive case study out there right there for us, and that's the avocado industry. Avocado consumption more than doubled. During that period of time when the industry was really ramping up their infrastructure for ripening and that the avocado ripening revolution happened from the late 90s through the 2000s, avocado consumption doubled. Who would have ever thought, 20 years ago, would you have thought that avocados would be the number 5 ranked fruit in U.S. sales? I mean, this used to be a niche item. This was, demographically, a very, very small portion of the population was really going to be that interested in avocados. And now, look, number 5 in the country. And industry leaders believe that mangoes can move in that direction. We have a very similar backstory, and we have a very similar opportunity. So we feel like we can work together and transfer that avocado success story and make that a mango story. Now, we are interested in feeding you guys. It looks like we don't quite have the samples up here, so we're going to move ahead to some other things. I want to thank our friends at Avocados from Mexico. They provided the avocados for us. And we've made up a mango and avocado salsa that's going to be served. And I apologize for the delay. This is really just to make sure you're good and hungry before the samples come out. Okay, great. All right, we've got some food coming out. So while the servers are coming out, I just want to tell you a little bit more about this particular recipe. It's a very easy preparation. It is available on mango.org. And we have it available for you as a header card and a tear pad. And that is something that the point of sale materials we make available at no charge. We'll ship them to the supplier. We'll ship them out to the retailer for distribution to your stores. All right, come on in, guys. Let's eat. Very good. So I know that we're going to be a little bit tight on time today, so I'm wondering are you guys okay if I go ahead and continue while you're getting your samples and enjoying that mango and avocado salsa? And I think we've got a few more folks coming in. Come on in. Let's get these folks fed. It's a really good way to make friends, right? Yes, Dennis.
I'd like to say something that we actually have kind of a pioneer in the industry in this room, and he doesn't know I was going to say this, but Phil Henry's father, Gil Henry, was the very first one to forced air ripen avocados. And my friend Victor Tokar helped him set those rooms up. But we're right now in the mango industry, as Wendy was saying, we're right now what avocados were back in '88 when I started working with them. So we're in our infancy. But there are a lot of ripening rooms out there, and mangoes can benefit from those ripening rooms. So there's a lot of partnerships that could be developed to help move this program along.
Excellent. All right, while y'all are eating, we're going to go ahead and move on a little bit. So we've come through from the farm, talked about maturity at harvest. We've come through, we've evaluated that maturity. We've decided whether or not we're going to put the mangoes into a ripening room or not. And now we can bring the mangoes to the store level. So a few really simple best practices. Here comes the sermon again. Don't refrigerate the mangoes at the store. Dennis, what's the typical temperature for a backroom cooler at a store?
36 to 38 degrees. And it's usually colder than 36 even.
That is too cold for a mango. We didn't really even realize how much of a problem we had until Dennis started working with us on the ripening program and started going out and doing a whole lot of store checks, getting into those back rooms, and we were shocked at how many retailers were still holding mangoes in refrigeration in the back room. They think they're doing a good thing. Bless their hearts. They think that they're doing the right thing. They think that they're going to get a little bit more shelf life, but what they're actually doing is creating chill damage that they will not see. It will fall in the customer's kitchen. That's when that chill damage is going to show up. So number one thing, never refrigerate whole mangoes at the store. Now, as we're getting into more and more ripening programs, we're going to have more soft fruit out on display. So it's going to be more important to handle that fruit gently. Obviously, we want big displays, but we don't necessarily need mangoes stacked up 5 deep, because the mangoes that are nice and soft and ripe are going to start to see some damage as a result of that. Related to that, no wicker baskets. We see that a lot of times, especially in tropical displays. We know it's attractive, but when you put a ripe piece of fruit in a wicker basket and it sits there, especially as folks are handling it a lot, what Tommy was referring to, that excessive handling that you get from customers trying to do a little squeeze and test, you're going to start to see lines showing up, problems showing up. You're going to get the imprint of the basket on the mango. We want to offer varieties. Okay, I know we've made this mistake already up here, Dennis. Dennis and I have been still calling this an Ataulfo. Can I get on 3? What's the new name for this mango? 1, 2, 3. We're calling this a honey mango, and we say this with the utmost respect for where this mango came from. We understand that the folks who developed this mango, I understand that this is the only mango that was actually bred in Mexico, originated in Mexico. We have the utmost respect for that, but man, consumers have a tough time. Retailers have a tough time saying Ataulfo. So we've developed a consumer-friendly name. So especially when honey mango is available, you want to be carrying the round mangoes as well as the honey mangoes. There are certain times of year where there are more red mangoes as well as a more green variety available. Give your consumers choices. Offer varieties to them, and they will become mango aficionados. Offer the mangoes year-round. That's a no-brainer. Cross-merchandise. We're doing a lot of stuff with tahine. Cross-merchandise mangoes, maybe doing a mango and avocado salsa display with the avocados and some of those other ingredients. Offer fresh-cut mangoes. Fresh-cut is like a gateway drug for whole mangoes. If we can get them hooked with fresh mangoes, they will figure out how to cut a whole mango if we can get them hooked with fresh cut. And we're actually doing a lot of work. We have 2 different major fresh cut suppliers that we're working with now and helping them understand how to ripen mangoes before they cut them, so that we end up with some nice, beautiful, golden colored, delicious tasting fresh cut mangoes rather than white, flavorless mangoes in those fresh cut displays. And use the educational POS. I know some of you guys can't use ours. That's fine. We'll work with you. We have all of the images and all of the messaging to be able to help you figure out how to educate your consumers. One last thing here on store practices. We did a store test. We wanted to look at, okay, so in a lot of retail stores, mangoes are displayed in the tropical set, right? So we said, what if we moved them? What if we moved mangoes and put them with the avocado set? What if we moved mangoes, and this was during the summertime, and moved them with stone fruit? And we measured the results in these 3 panels of stores. And the results that we got completely blew us away. The mangoes that were displayed with stone fruit saw a 45% increase in both sales and volume compared to both the avocado and the tropical sets, which were basically flat at that time of year. So I dug a little bit deeper and I said, okay, so wait a minute. Are we cannibalizing? In this test, did we steal sales away from stone fruit? Because that doesn't make us a very good partner, right? So they dug a little bit deeper and they compared the panels that had the mangoes with the stone fruit, what happened to the stone fruit sales there, versus the control panels where the stone fruit did not have mangoes next to them. The stone fruit sales went up 8% as well. So it was a good match for both. The takeaway for us is that if you can pull the mangoes out of tropicals, especially if tropicals are not your jam for your customer, if your tropicals are off in a dark corner of the department, let's pull them out front. Let's bring them out with whatever is seasonal fruit at that time. Let's help people understand that mangoes are just a fruit option. They're not special. They're not exotic. It's not, doesn't need to be over there in those tropicals with the roots and the yucca and all that stuff and the prickly cactus pear leaves. Let's bring them out. It's another fruit option for your family. couple other things. We have resources to help you all get your store level folks trained. One of them is Mango University. I am spotting right here in this room quite a lot of Mango University graduates. It's not hard, trust me. It takes about 10 minutes. It's online, it's always available. And Professor Mango is your guide through Mango University. They're fun online videos. And we also send out a customized diploma, and if your company allows it, we send actually a crisp $10 bill, an actual incentive to thank the store level folks for their time. We've got programs for store level, that's the biggest one, but we also make those available for corporate, the registered dietitian nutritionist, as well as the warehouse and DC folks. So we've got customized information for those different audiences. So what are the barriers to purchase, right? What do we need to overcome to help customers buy more mangoes? This is coming from our consumer research. It's not top of mind. It's not on my list. So how do we solve that? Bring them forward. Get them out of tropicals. Make sure they're ripe. Help those customers make an impulse purchase. I don't know how to select. I don't know how to judge ripeness. We can solve that. Working together, we can educate consumers. I don't know how to cut a mango. Again, these are education challenges. These are things that we can work together to overcome. What I'm always encouraged by is that I don't like mangoes is not one of the answers that they give us. We give them that option, right? They don't tell us that not liking mangoes is the main reason that they're not buying mangoes. That's not the barrier. Okay. We're going to have some fun now. I believe I have 3 volunteers in the room, and we are going to do a very quick mango cutting lesson. And I think Mr. Campisi from Walmart, Gary Campisi, is going to come up and help us. Come on up, Gary. I think Joseph Bunting from United Supermarkets and Juan Estrella from Fiesta is going to come on up as well. Come on, guys. Okay.
You guys sign your medical disclaimers?
All right, let's put Joseph right here next to me, and let's put Gary and Juan. You're going to go over here. Okay. Now, before we start this, I want everybody to know I brought the Band-Aids. We have had to use them before. However, we've not yet had to call an ambulance. So that's the good news. We needed the Band-Aids, but we didn't need stitches, right? I'm looking at Gary because he was in the room when we needed the Band-Aids last time. It wasn't Gary. It was not Gary. Okay, guys, so everybody go ahead and grab a mango. Grab that one, Joseph, before it flies away. So the first thing, right, we're going to give it a little gentle squeeze. Gary, does that one feel good? Does that feel like it's ready to eat? Juan, yours is good? Which one you want? That one? Okay, good. Joseph, you got one you like? Yeah. Okay. Now, every mango has an eye, or some people call it the nose. There's a little bump right there. Every single mango has one of those. So we're going to find the little bump. Everybody got their bump? And the way I like to teach consumers how to do this is I'm going to put this on my cutting board with that bump or that eye looking right up at me. And I'm going to grab my knife. I'm not going to cut right down the center because, you know, there's a seed right there. We don't want to run into the seed. We're going to go off center, just about 1/4 or 1/2 inch, and we're going to cut straight down. If you happen to hit the seed, just ease your way around it. How you doing there, Joseph? Okay, excellent. Everybody good? All right, now, so you can see where the seed is right there. We're going to flip this guy around. Again, keep that eye looking straight up. A little bit off center. And we're going to cut straight down. Okay. Now, I like it sometimes when people call that the nose, right? So what's on the other side of your nose? Your cheeks. So here we have our 2 mango cheeks. This is where most of the meat is, right? So now, here's a mistake I see a lot of people making, and this would require us to need some Band-Aids. Please don't hold it in your hand. I know you do this with an avocado, so do I, but the avocado skin is a lot tougher. If you cut right now, you're likely to slice your hand open. So let's keep it on the cutting board, and we're just going to use our knife, and we're going to score through the flesh without cutting the skin. And then we're going to flip it 90 degrees, and we're going to cut some more cuts so we've got a checkerboard. All right, everybody good? You going to cut the other direction? Or do you want slices? If you want slices, you can just cut one direction. It's your choice, Gary. You're catching up? Try not to cut the finger off. That's good. Okay. Now, a lot of times what we see is this. This is pretty typical, and this is not wrong, right? Turn it inside out. It's so pretty. When we showed this to consumers in focus groups the very first year of the mango board, consumers that didn't know how to cut a mango immediately went, oh no, I don't know what to do now. I'm scared. So we came up with a different way. You hold it in your hand, you pick up the spoon, and we scoop it right out. Now I've got everything out of there. I managed to do that without cutting my fingers. Gary's making a little bit of a mess. Thanks, Dennis. Okay, these are really good. Let's go ahead and try some mango.
Very good.
Good stuff? All right. Good. And nobody needs Band-Aids? Excellent. I think we actually have some wet napkins there as well, so we don't have to send these guys back with sticky hands. Okay, let's give a big round of applause for my volunteers, or I can maybe call them victims now. My victims. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. You guys did a great job. Excellent. Excellent. Let me grab one of these as well.
One thing Wendy didn't mention, this usually gets thrown away. It's probably the sweetest part of the mango. They ripen from the inside out. Just trim this off over the sink and eat it. It's really good.
They call that the chef's treat, right?
Dash.
Holy cow. So I'm seeing this for the first time right along with you guys. So this is the result. So what was different about the two samples that we served you guys? Exactly. We've got an answer here. One was ripe, the other one was not. They were the same variety. They were both honey mangoes. For the mature, unripe mangoes, in other words, the first sample that you tried has the potential to be ripe, but it's not, 38% acceptance. That means 38% of you said you either like or strongly like that mango. The ripe mangoes, 95% acceptance. 95% of you said that you either like or strongly like. That's the yellow bars. So the acceptance, again, it's very consistent with what we found in the more scientific versions of this, which is a relief because we did not know how this was going to go. The acceptance more than doubles for ripe versus unripe mangoes. We're going to go ahead and bring in one more sample. We want to let you guys taste one more thing. So while Valdo's queuing them, I do want to very, very briefly just talk about nutrition. We've talked about the story. We've talked about the passion, the connection, and we've talked about the flavor. But there also is a great nutrition story here as well. A cup of mangoes, just 100 calories, 100% of your daily vitamin C, 35% of your daily vitamin A, 12% of your daily fiber, no cholesterol, no fat, no sodium, more than 20 different vitamins and minerals in a mango. So there's a great nutrition story there to tell as well. And if that's a story that you want to communicate to your customers, we can help you with that. The sample that you guys are getting right now is some ripe mango with the tahine fruit spice. So Tahine is a company that we're partnering with. They're partnering with us on a number of things, including our national display contest that happens in July. And so what we wanted to do was let you guys taste what tahine's all about. It's a chile and lime flavor profile. Works really well on ripe mangoes. A lot of folks really like it on unripe mangoes as well. So, and especially from that cultural connection, you'll find that a lot of your customers who grew up with mangoes may want to be able to eat an unripe mango, so a more lighter colored inside flesh mango with the tahine. Okay. I'm getting the high five sign from Melinda, and we're at the last slide. I love it when the plan comes together. What questions do you guys have for us? She's a taskmaster, this one.
I just want to throw this in. Online, you can get a ripening manual right online, and our post-harvest manual is right online. So if you go to the mango.org website, you can find these tools, and they're really good.
Thanks, Dennis. Questions? Comments? Mango stories. Who has a mango story they want to share? Yes. percentage are we selling to restaurants of fresh mangoes? I focus on retail, and that's not a number that I have right now. I believe from the econometric evaluation, I believe it's something in the neighborhood of about 30%, but I am not confident in that stat. I would say the majority is going to retail.
Questions anywhere?
Yes. We do, absolutely. So Valda Koryat is our director of marketing. So Valda is going to be a great resource. All of us will be at booth 530 tomorrow. So Valda and Angela Cerna, who's also our marketing team, and Angela's in the back. She's waving there in the black and white stripes. Angela and Valda work together on the food service program. Who's got a mango story? Who remembers the first time they had a mango? Yes.
It was in 1973. I lived in South Korea. My father was working for the Forest Service. One day he brought one little fruit from somebody from, I guess, the tropical area. He brought one fruit. The whole family, we cut it open, and everybody had a tiny little bite. And then my mom had that pit, and she favored it. She sucked at it, and then she tried to throw it. By putting a little plastic cup with water, and I remember that very vividly because that's what I was.
So in the 70s, and she remembers that first taste of mango. I love that. Love that. Any other questions? Wonderful. I want to thank you all so much. It is truly an honor. Literally, to work in the produce industry for me is an honor. To have the opportunity to stand up here and talk to you about mangoes, to be able to work with the mango industry. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your attention. And we're here for you, whatever you need. Thank you.
Thank you.